Here. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. We're going to talk about July 2025 with all things Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, retirement benefits, disability benefits, survivor benefits, the whole balls of wax. This is a live Q&A as well. I do this type of video once a month. I go through some of the stuff that we might anticipate seeing in July, the payment schedule, anything happens. There's some interesting stuff in the news. We'll definitely get to all that. And we already have tons of questions. So if you got any questions about all things Social Security, make sure you type it in there. Got some questions already about retirement, survivor benefits, how the benefits are calculated. Someone said they already got their July payment. So I think we have someone here from the future. If you're here from the future, I think you're wasting your time hanging out here with us today. Maybe you should go to the go to the Wall Street or something like that, put some money down, or the horses, or whatever the case may be. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. So we've got what's going on. The Medicare. There's some big news. You probably saw it. RFK Jr. and Dr. Oz is talking about prior authorizations, and they came out with some earth-shattering information that they're going to expedite prior authorizations. What are prior authorizations? If you have original Medicare and TRICARE and or Medicaid, not relevant to you. If you have original Medicare and a Medicare supplement plan like Plan F, G, N, not relevant to you. If you have a Medicare Advantage plan, then yes, this is 100% relevant to you. So that's one of the reasons I always recommend Medicare supplement plan if it's in your budget, But if not, Medicare Advantage, you just have to go through some more hoops. And one of those hoops is that you just might have to do prior authorizations on some type of services or surgery or whatever the case may be. And that's basically your doctor says, hey, Bob, you need to do this. And then you say, okay, let's do it. And then your doctor says, okay, Bob, let me check with the accountants at the health insurance company that you have, the Medicare Advantage plan that you have, and I will send in the paperwork and they'll kick it back or maybe approve it, or their AI will do it. There's a big scandal about AI doing these approvals and denials. An actual doctor is supposed to look at it. Another doctor in the health insurance company is supposed to look at it and second guess your doctor. But that's what a prior authorization is. And Dr. Oz went on TV and said, hey, you know, we're addressing these prior authorizations. We're making them quicker and stuff like that. Not necessarily. That was a law that was passed by CMS, signed by the previous president, but over about a year ago now, and now it's finally being implemented. So I'm not sure why Dr. Oz is taking credit for that, but you know, politicians, they take credit for anything, even if they don't do it. So he is now officially a politician rather than a talk show host, and also a doctor. But there's some other stuff on prior authorizations. I'm going to do a separate video this week on prior authorization because there's some more detail about that as well. Okay, what else we got going out there? We got the Social Security Fairness Act that I've talked about. That's actually, there's only about 8, 9, 10% of people out there that are left that have not received their Social Security Fairness Act payments, their retroactive payments. You got people that are receiving $5,000, $10,000. We've had some people on here that have received $20,000 back pay. So those are about over 90% done. But I and a lot of people out there are kind of worried that there are people falling through the cracks. So even when on the SSA website, it says, hey, you know, we've completed 100%. So that probably won't happen till like November or something, until they get the final manual ones. But even when it says 100%, I almost guarantee that there's going to be people in there that fall through the cracks. That, oh, wait a second, I didn't know on my first ex-spouse that I'm entitled to benefits on that record. And because of the Social Security Fairness Act, I'm now eligible for benefits because that person, work for a non-covered entity, a government employment, a police department, fire department, teacher, or something like that in a particular city or state that did not pay into Social Security. So make sure you watch my video on the Social Security Fairness Act. It's complicated. That's one of the reasons I think it's unfair, is because politicians didn't understand it. Let me see. Let me retract that. Did I just say politicians pass laws that they don't understand? Okay. Everybody's saying, duh. Ed, you just came to that realization. Not really, but I just had to stop myself there for a second. Okay. I also did a video yesterday on the myth out there about $3,200 going, there's a stimulus check, and I already got a question here about the stimulus check. What happened to my stimulus check? Yeah, there is no stimulus check. There is no Doge dividend. There is no $3,200 that they're talking about that is going out on social media. As of right now, there is no Social Security stimulus check, Doge dividend, or anything like that. There are a bunch of social media people out there that seem to do daily updates on here's the status of the Doge dividend, the stimulus, and basically it's just clickbait where they say, I'm going to talk about the status of the stimulus check, and because $3,200 or $1,000 or $2,000, you really need that money, and so we're going to talk about that today. And after about 8 minutes of that, then they say, yeah, no, it's not going to happen. Thanks for watching though. So I've just saved yourself 8 minutes of your life. I just did a video a few days ago about the commissioner, the new commissioner about the Social Security Administration, making, I would still argue, the dumbest remark of 2025, that because the Social Security trustees came out, and said, hey, it looks as though the Social Security Trust Fund is going to run out about a year earlier than we anticipated. So we're looking at about 2033, 2034. And the commissioner came out and said, well, we just have to fix it because we are a doing administration. We'll just go ahead and fix it. So yeah, we've had 30 years to fix it. And yeah, so I think he's just kind of stalling like the previous, administration. So whether it's Republican or Democratic, liberal or conservative, the trust fund is running out. And that is unfortunately a reality. Let me get to the, let me go through my slides here. Okay, here's the one I want. So the Social Security faces a large shortfall. Basically, X amount comes in every year, that much goes out. What covers the gap? The trust fund, the savings. So you get part of the trust fund in your paycheck every single month, and that's running out. So at about 2033, 2034, there's going to be about a 19% cut in everybody's benefits unless we do something. And you're saying, yes, they've been talking about this for decades. Yes, we have been talking about it for decades, but we have never fixed it. We have just keep sitting on our hands, and all of the myths that have been perpetuated on my website. I just updated a section about a week or so ago now on common Social Security myths, and that's one of the big myths, that the trust fund was stolen. Then it's going to, Social Security is going to go bankrupt. No, it's not going to go bankrupt. It's still going to be able to pay about 80% of benefits, but there's millions of Americans out there that are just barely scraping by right now, and they can't take another 20% cut. So as Elizabeth says, yes, remove the Social Security cap. That's the trick right there. That's going to cover a majority of the issue, right? And then it would have covered 100% of the issue a few years ago if we would have started it a few years ago. But now that every year we wait, it helps less. And then politicians use that and they say, well, it's not going to cover 100%. It's not going to fix 100% of everything, so therefore we shouldn't do anything because, yeah. That makes no sense whatsoever. Okay, let me get to the last part, the simplest part about the pay. Okay, so we're looking at July 25, and if you're new to Social Security, new to getting benefits, if you're receiving SSI, Supplemental Security Income, you get your first check on the 1st. If you received benefits before 1997, even if a lot of people, I tell people, oh, if you know, you're going to get your check on the 9th and the 16th. If you were born on the first 10 days of the month, you get your check on the second Wednesday. If you were born in the second 10 days of the month, you get your check on the third Wednesday. And then people email me or, you know, come here and says, no, Ed, you don't know what you're talking about. I get mine on what date? That's because you're kind of grandfathered in because you're receiving benefits before. Some people that were receiving benefits when they were kids, the Social Security computer system keeps that same payment structure, even though you got your benefits, you know, 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. It still keeps the same pay date for whatever reason. And in the old days, we used to be able to change that. So people used to come into the Social Security office that I ran in, well, all offices throughout the country, and they used to say, hey, I can't wait until the 22nd. I need my check on the 1st so I can pay my rent and all this other kind of stuff. And unfortunately, Social Security cannot change that anymore. They used to be able to change it where you can change your pay date, but it's almost impossible. I've haven't heard of anybody being successful to change their pay date, so it's unfortunate. All right, so I think I've gone through most of the information. I've already talked about also the Senate bill. So the House passed their bill, and you know, massive cuts to people's health care throughout the country. And the Senate said, hold my beer. We're gonna inflict a lot more pain on the vulnerable out there. And so the Senate kind of doubled down and said, yeah, we're gonna kick even more people off. And then our friend Mitch McConnell comes out there and says, oh, all those people that lose their health care and everything, they'll get over it. So there's that. All right, let's go ahead and get into some questions about all things Social Security and see what we can do to help you out here. Okay, let's see. Leslie, won't Social Security last longer if we remove all of the illegal aliens that Biden and his cronies placed on our country? Nope, the exact opposite. People that work in this country illegally, whether they came over the border, they're from the South or the North, or they came in to go to school and then just stayed on their visa after their visa was expired, or they married someone, or whatever the case may be. Those people pay into Social Security. A lot of them do, like I'm going to do a video on the current administration and Stephen Miller hated sanctuary cities. But now they love sanctuary farms. So all those, you know, undocumented immigrants working in those farms and hotels and stuff, which the president doesn't have an issue with, they pay into Social Security. They get fake Social Security numbers, ITINs, and so they pay into Social Security, and it's estimated about $37 billion gets paid into Social Security and Medicare, and because and that doesn't include local taxes and federal taxes. I'm just talking about Social Security and Medicare. But billions of billions of billions of dollars are paid into Social Security, and they will never get it unless they become legal. So they donate. So your check is going to last longer. It's going to be cut less in the future because of all those undocumented immigrants donating to the system. So thank you very much. So unfortunately, you incorrect there. Why can't I get Social Security disability because my husband gets it? Because you have to be disabled yourself. So Social Security. So what you're asking is you're not asking that you get benefits simply because he's disabled. Perhaps your question is, he's disabled. He's receiving disability benefits. You're also disabled, but you were denied. Maybe that's the question you're asking. So if that is the case, you go onto my website, the mygovexpert.com there, and I have, if you were recently denied, make sure you file the appeal. There's several different levels of appeal, and I've got a separate section there, more detailed on the appeals process, the level 1, level 2, level 3, and it's pretty easy to follow. But if you were denied, always appeal. People have a better result when they appeal the initial decision. Yeah, and then I've also got the videos on, the process, how to file for disability, some tips, tricks, and secrets on improving your ability to get approved. So let's see here. Trying to find some people today that I don't recognize, that haven't been here before. PPP fans, what's up? I was looking for a company for 5 years, and the whole 5 years, I did not get a state income tax check by. Why is that? State income tax. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I can't help you out with state income taxes. Not sure. Was that like a state? Some states did some type of stimulus or something like that. So not sure. Sorry, I can't help you there. What's really happening with Medicaid? How do they decide who to cut? Well, they, just like Elon Musk, he goes in there and he says fraud, waste, and abuse, and all those are the magic words. If you say fraud, waste, and abuse, then you can do whatever you want. That's what they're doing with Medicaid. They're saying fraud, waste, and abuse, and lazy people, that young men that are sitting at their parents' basement playing Nintendo 64 or whatever. I just dated myself, didn't I? Nintendo Switch 2, sorry. So, which is a complete red herring. It's basically, no, you're cutting, if you're going to go after those people, then get off those people. Let's cut those people off. But what they're doing is they're cutting over $800 billion from the program, and then hoping that will cut those people off. And no, that's not how it works. So one of the issues, because before I worked for Social Security, I worked for the Department of Social Services doing Medicaid, and states throughout the country are really, really understaffed. And the big ugly bill also increases recertification. Now you have to do it once a year, unless there's, or unless Medicaid finds out, they get some type of trigger warning that you've got some money coming in or something. But on a normal basis, they do it once a year. Now they have to do it twice a year, and with less staffing. So, and they don't mandate. Biden passed laws that said, hey, a lot of the people that receive Medicaid are elderly and disabled, and have issues with transportation and everything. So we want you to help these people get what they need. That's out the door. They've gotten rid of, we need to get rid of regulations, like the regulation that state employees help you get what you need. Terrible regulation, right? So there's going to be a lot of people that fill out the form wrong. They don't get it back in time. The offices are understaffed, so they don't process it in time, and people are going to lose their Medicaid. And then they might not lose it. They might be entitled to it. That's what happened when they, after COVID, after the pandemic, they did kind of the same thing, and they found that about 75% of people were incorrectly denied. They eventually restarted those benefits, but this is going to be a nightmare. There's people that are just give up, and they were going to go have a surgery, but then they lost their Medicaid, and they have to go through all this nightmare, and it's going to delay it a month or 2 months or 3 months, or people just going to say, forget about it. I guess I'm not entitled, simply because they forgot to check this little box on one of the forms. And that's the goal, is to kick as many people off of Medicaid as possible, to save that money, not to pay down the debt, but to give it to the people that, Jeff Bezos has, he needs to rent Venice for his wedding. So, my birthday was on the 16th, but since I was originally on SSI, when I got a regular Social Security, they kept me on the 3rd of each month because I was originally on SSI. Yeah, again, sometimes they do that if you're, back and forth and stuff. So, I've been calling them sanctuary farms for a few years now. Good to see Doctor on board, because it's true. Yes. I've even got I've come up with the thumbnail, the sanctuary farm. So, we're on the same page. I thought I was original with that, but you already thought about it. So I guess I have to send you a royalty for use of that phrase. Anyway, Robert, reside outside USA on Social Security. Would like to work, but at 71, how is that happening? Can't afford to live in the U.S., being homeless, but okay where I'm at. Yeah, Robert or Chap, you are doing something which a lot of people definitely do. And that's why on my website, I've got living overseas for benefits if you're a citizen, non-citizen, your green card holder. If you go back, there's a lot of limitations on that. Disability benefits overseas, SSI overseas, Medicare overseas, banking considerations, all kinds of different stuff. So yeah, that's why I set up a different page. A lot of people are doing that. They say, well, $1,000, $1,500, $1,800. Definitely can't do that in the United States in most places, but overseas, definitely do it. So the biggest issue is, your mail and Medicare, what to do about Medicare. So, all right, let's see, try to find some new people here. I think your audience has turned from socialist to communist. Nobody knows what communism means. Even if you ask Karl Marx, he never said what it means. But socialist, social safety net, social security. Yeah, that's a argument going back to 1935. So that's what's, old attack. To stay in the Social Security limit of 1950, do I track my pay from the 1st of the month to the 30th, or does Social Security count payroll checks by date they are paid? By when they were earned, technically. But if so, you're talking about 1950. You're talking about the monthly earnings limit. So this is your first year. So for the first year, you can do the monthly if you earned over the $23,400, which includes the time before. But once you start collecting Social Security checks, the first year you have to stay under $1,950. But just between you and me, don't tell anybody else. How does Social Security know you made 1957 in one month and 1947 in another month? How do they know that? They don't. What happens is they don't know. Once you do your taxes or your employer, does the W-2, sends that to Social Security looks at it then. And if you go over, then they send you that overpayment. But when I say over, I'm talking about when you do your taxes, does the IRS know how much you made exactly? Well, they do, but they don't tell the Social Security Administration how much you make every single month. They just tell the Social Security Administration, okay, in 2025, David made $35,000. And if you told Social Security that, before you started benefits, you're going to make X amount of money, then you should be good. You should be good. If you do get that overpayment because of, whatever, most of the time it's because the claim specialist coded MCS incorrectly with the incorrect NSM, non-service months. Sausage is being made here. But anyway, then all you have to do is just go down there and say, I didn't make over 1950, since I started collecting Social Security benefits. And sometimes, it's never really happened. So, yeah. So there's that. If it happens to you, let us know. But I've never seen it really happen. I mean, if it goes over a lot, if you say you're going to make 1950 and you made $20,000 before that, and all of a sudden it turns out you made $80,000 for the entire year, then there might be a red flag there. But then you just go back and say, oh yeah, I forgot about the $60,000 commission I was supposed to receive before that time. Then they'll do it manually and fix it for you. No problem. I'm not receiving Social Security yet. I had to pay 4 months in advance to Social Security for Part B, but I have Medicare Advantage that will cover most of it, and I will pay $10.30 a month. How do I get reimbursed for the $740? It's automatic. It just takes forever. Yeah. So when that happens, when you have paid for those 4 months in advance because you were not receiving Social Security checks, and then you started receiving Social Security checks, and then you signed up for a Medicare Advantage, you signed up for the Medicare Advantage Part B give back. And those are the ones that as the name implies, it gives you back some of your, Medicare Part B premium. Um, Couple of things with that. So number one, to answer your question, it just has to work through the system. So because we're talking a couple of systems here, we're talking, we're talking three systems. We're talking, first of all, your Medicare Advantage company has to notify the Social Security Administration and Medicare. So there's three different computer systems working that, okay, money started being held out, and then there's also a Medicare Advantage that's going to be part of it and stuff. So it works out. It's all automatic. Nothing manually has to be done. It just has to work out through the computer system. So that should be good. But on those Medicare Advantage Part B give back, those are great programs. If you're healthy, so let's say you have a Medicare Advantage Part B give back and you sign up for X company and they pay, $150 a year Part B. And you're like, awesome, they're paying $150 a year Part B. It actually comes from your money, all those decades you pay into Medicare. But anyway, you're getting your money back. But these are still health insurance companies. And I hate to break the news to you, they like their profits. And they're not going to pay $150 out of their pockets to pay for your Part B every month without figuring out how to get it someplace else. So if you sign up for a Part B give back plan, and then you compare it with a regular plan that doesn't pay for part of your Part B, you'll see a lot of extra charges here. So let's say on the Part B give back, you get $150, but if you go into the hospital, you might have to pay $300 a night. A regular one that doesn't pay for it, you might have to pay $100 a night. You might have to pay $50 for a specialist. You might have to pay $0 for a specialist over here. So remember, you can change Medicare Advantage plans every year. So if you're healthy and you're hopefully don't get in an accident or get sick this year, then hey, it's a great thing. You save a bunch of money. And then next year, you check it out again and say, well, I'm still feeling all right. I'm still young. I'm still, 80 years old. I'm young. I don't have any issues. I'll roll the dice one more time, get my $150 back every month. Then in the following year, if it looks like, okay, I might start needing something, then switch over to a regular plan that doesn't have it. And that way you're protected. So just an FYI. Let's see. I had the ACA and it was all I could get with pre-existing conditions. Glad I'm on Medicare. It is crazy. Yeah. Pretty much all health insurance nowadays, under 65 is the Affordable Care Act marketplace insurance, unless you're getting it from, an employer or something, or military, or, Medicaid, or, Medicare, no issues of pre-existing conditions. Medicare Advantage, no issues of pre-existing conditions. The only one that has pre-existing condition type thing is, Medicare supplement plans, the Plan N and Plan G. That's why I always say, when you're first eligible for Medicare Part B, when you're 65, or, if you don't get Part B when you're 65, you delay it because you have health insurance from work. Whenever you're first eligible for Part B, you have a time frame there to go ahead and get a Medicare supplement plan without any, health underwriting or anything like that. But after that, then there is this thing called, pre-existing conditions, which in every country in the world, that's called your medical records. But in this country, because the Social Security system, or excuse me, the whole medical system sucks, they can discriminate against us. But they used to be across the board for everybody, but the Affordable Care Act ended that discrimination based on, your situation. So I am receiving a pension since last year, and my husband applied and started receiving his pension in March 2025. How come I did not get the same month as his for an additional benefits from him? So you're receiving benefits of last year and he started March. So if your benefit amount was less than half of his, your full benefit amount was less than half of his, then you had to file for benefits on his record. And then you would have started at the same month he did because you were already receiving benefits. So if his benefits started in March, then your benefits should have started in March. Obviously, the March check comes in April. It always pays a month behind like that. But yeah, if for some reason they didn't start your spouse benefits until, May or June or whatever the case, then they messed up and they put the wrong MOE, is it's called, the month of entitlement. So you call them up and say, hey, I'm missing a month. Why didn't you give me, yeah, the same time he did? So something doesn't sound right. Lynn, I will be 64 this October. I've been on SSDI for 7 years. Now I haven't had a CDR yet. Lucky you. Someone told me I have aged out. Is that true? Or if it does so, that mean I'll never have to go through one? No, you never really age out. It decreases the likelihood that you'll get one. But if your local office has to do a CDR because they have quotas, that Congress mandates, then you get it. But in your case, if you haven't got one in 7 years, and so it's a crapshoot. It's based on, when your cycle comes up, how many people in your area, in your district, have, those CDRs coming up in the same cycle as yours, and whether the office has a budget. So it's a crapshoot. So don't worry about it. Go on with your life. So I am disabled senior on SSI. I also receive survivor benefits from Social Security. Would I be eligible for SSDI? I don't know what SSDI is. Would you please enlighten me? I will be 78 in September. Then, there's no SSDI for you, unfortunately. SSDI is Social Security Disability Insurance. It's for people disabled. But nobody gets SSDI after their full retirement age. Everybody in the country who receives Social Security Disability Insurance, once they hit their full retirement age, their SSDI benefits are switched to regular retirement benefits. So unfortunately, no SSDI for you. You are receiving, you were receiving, and same thing basically with your SSI. If you were receiving SSI before the age of 65, you were receiving it based on disability, SSI disability. SSI, Supplemental Security Income, is the needs-based, welfare-based program that Social Security administers. When you hit 65, then you become SSI aged, as they call it. So SSI aged, and this is important out there for if people out there, your friends, family, whoever, neighbors, are receiving Social Security benefits, retirement disability benefits, whatever the case may be, and their benefits are very, very low. There is this thing called SSI, Supplemental Security Income, and the max you can receive this year is $967. So if you know anybody receiving less than that from Social Security and they don't have any other income or resources, please tell them to reach out to Social Security, particularly those people that are aged. So people say, well, yeah, I applied for SSI a few years ago, but they denied me because they said I wasn't disabled enough or something. Once you turn 65, disability is not an issue. You become eligible based on being 65. So anybody that you know that is receiving less than 967, tell them to file. And when they're eligible, when they're approved for SSI, that also makes them what's called categorically eligible for Medicaid. So if you have SSI, you're automatically qualified for Medicaid. And then Medicaid, if you get the higher levels and the big beautiful bill doesn't pass, then Medicaid will pay for your Part B premium, that $185, which will help you out quite a bit. So there's just so many things that people are missing. So please subscribe, like, share, all that kind of good stuff, so we help out as many people as possible. If you have a plan G with a co and to change to another G company, yes. Okay, so on Medicare supplement plans, you can change. A Medicare supplement plan, you can change any time of the year, 365 days of the year. You might have to go through health underwriting depending on your particular state. And what's health underwriting? It's basically let's say you got a plan G or a plan N, and you want to save some money and maybe look for a cheaper plan G or plan N, or switch from a G to an N, or whatever, an F to a G or an N, or whatever the case may be. It depends on your state whether you can do it. and or your health condition. And what you do is, like, you call a chapter or whoever you want to talk to and say, hey, I pay X amount for my plan G or N, and is there any that are any cheaper out there? And first thing they'll do is they'll see if you're eligible in your state to switch with no issues. If not, then if you're not in your initial enrollment period for that, then you'll have to go through health underwriting. And basically, like the person at chapter just, ask you about 20 or 30 questions for the company. And as long as you answer basically no to most of them, some companies have a little wiggle room there, then they will approve you and you might save 10, 20, 30, 40, $50 a month. So, and you can do that any time of the year. With a Medicare Advantage plan, the only time you can change a Medicare Advantage plan is if you kind of move, you lose Medicaid, you gain Medicaid, if there's some other situations, if you had health insurance from work and then you stop receiving that health insurance from work. And then other than that, other than a few other categories, then you'll have to wait until October. And so if you want to see if your plan is going to be the best, then you can reach out to chapter there and say, hey, put me on the list for October. I want to see if my plan is the best, and the plans will actually be available October 1st, but you won't be able to change it till October 15th till December 7th. And then your new plan will take effect January 1st. And people say, oh, I've had the same plan for 3 years. No, you haven't. No. Those plans change every year. You might have the same card in the same company, but the details of those plans change every single year. All Medicare Advantage plans are only good for 1 year. So, Andrea, how are divorced ex-spouse monthly payments determined, calculated? I meet all requirements to receive additional pay monthly based on what my ex-husband's income was. Yeah, it's basically divorce spouse, ex-spouse benefits. You have to file for benefits on your own record first. And then if you're PIA, basically your full benefit amount, if you would have waited till your full retirement age, is less than half of theirs, then you receive that difference. And then as usual, I have an app for that. If you go onto my website, family, and you go into the divorce spouse benefits, and it tells you, got a little calculator there, and it kind of tells you the difference. And remember, you do not, your ex does not have to be receiving benefits. This is, so many people are losing benefits. It's called independently entitled divorced spouse benefits. Let me get rid of this here. Independently entitled divorced spouse benefits. Basically, as long as your ex is on disability or at least 62, then if you're at least 62, you're eligible for benefits on their record, even if they haven't filed for benefits on their own record. I try to mention that fact in almost every video I've done, because there's just way too many people out there that are, giving the wrong information. Anyone else still waiting for the WEP letter? Yes, I should be a recipient. Yeah, they've done over 92% of those. So if your benefits have already been WEP'd, the windfall elimination provision, then yours should have already been done. I think the ones that are going to fall through the cracks are the GPO one, the government pension offset, the survivor benefits, the spouse benefits. Those are the ones that I think a lot of people are going to miss. But if you've been WEP'd, if your benefit was recalculated because of a non-covered pension, yours should be done. Yeah, yours should be done. I would reach out and find out what's going on. I would call the 800 number and say, hey, did you unwep me? So, when will he unplug from his normal rhetoric and answer my question? Okay, Tom, what about the new bill Trump just signed a couple of days ago? Pretty vague. Is that the one about the attacking Iraq, or, yeah, not sure. The new bill. Not sure about a new bill that actually went through Congress and was approved. So when a president signs a bill, the bill becomes law. So I haven't seen anything pass the House and pass the Senate that the president signed into law. So I'm not exactly sure. Yeah. My aunt just moved to Malaysia permanently. She is 88. Her Social Security check is direct deposited in the U.S. bank, and she had her U.S. mailing address. Did she need to inform Social Security her new residence address? Technically, she should. If she is a U.S. citizen, doesn't really matter. If you're a U.S. citizen, you can live anywhere in the world except for North Korea and Cuba. So if she's a U.S. citizen, she's good. If she is not a U.S. citizen, if she's a green card holder, then yeah, she needs to check. And again, on my website, if you go onto my website there, let me take this out. You go onto the living overseas and then eligibility for non-citizens, and you click on this little thing here, payments abroad screening tool, and it pops up into the official Social Security website, and it's a neat little payment. And it asks you a bunch of questions there. Are you a U.S. citizen? If you are, no, you put no, and then it asks you what country you're going to go to and all this kind of stuff. And it tells you whether you can receive benefits outside of the country and all that stuff. But if she is a U.S. citizen, then yep, no issue whatsoever. Hey everyone. Hey Anna, how we doing? I wanted to ask you if you received SSDI started at 56, did they calculate it based on your early retirement 62, if this makes sense? Yeah. Wait a second, Anna. Are you trying to make sense out of the Social Security? Are you trying to make a sense out of the federal government? Come on. Makes a sense as much as it could. But anyway, it's not really 62, but it's based on your full retirement age, and your full retirement age is 67. So it's based on that. However, so a lot of people misunderstand this. So let's say you started receiving SSDI at 56. And just before you filed for SSDI, you went into Social Security, SSA.gov, you set up an account, and you looked at your earnings record and everything, which everybody should. But you also looked, it said, hey, based on projections, when you hit 60, your full retirement age at 67, you'll get $2,000 a month. That's your full benefit amount. And then you were told when you get SSDI, you get basically your full benefit amount. And you're like, wait a second, but I'm not getting $2,000. That's because on those calculations, it projects going forward. So you're 56 years old, and when you looked at your benefit amount online, it said, okay, if here's how much you worked up until now. If you continue to work about how much you did like last year or so, if you continue to work like that for the next 11 years, we will add those 11 years as well to your benefit amount, and adding those years, when you hit 67, the estimate is you'll receive about $2,000. But with you, unfortunately, those 11 years aren't included in there because you became disabled. So you're not going to receive what it looked like you were going to receive because those years are not going to be in there, unfortunately. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's see. When on SSI and receiving back pay, are SNTs and ABLE accounts the only and best ways to lose SSI benefits? Yeah, so they've just changed the laws on ABLE accounts. So yeah, this is basically if you're receiving SSI, Medicaid, any type of needs-based program, and you have some money saved up, or someone gives you some money, or whatever the case may be, there are certain places you can put that. One of those are ABLE accounts, which are really good, but they have to be used for specific purposes. So the reason is, so you've got, needs-based, Medicaid, SSI, whatever the case may be, and then all of a sudden, you win a little bit of money, or you work a little bit and save some money, or someone, inheritance or whatever, and they give you like $10,000. And that kicks you off SSI. They say, hey, you got $10,000. But maybe, that $10,000, you want to put it away for kind of, educational, or you've got to fix your house, or you want to save up a little bit more for some type of, medical device or something like that. So if you put it in those accounts, it's protected. But it has to be in a, for a particular reason, it's protected. So those are really good. Those are really good. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't know about it. Yeah. So if you know people out there that are in that situation, number one, they can work. You can work. There's a lot of limitations. But if you get money, let's say you get $10,000, someone gives you $10,000 and you're on SSI. There's also a thing where you can spin that down. It's like, hey, I got $10,000. Awesome. My car broke down 3 months ago and I've been walking 40 miles a day. I'm going to go buy a car immediately. And if you spin that down immediately, buy a car, then something like that, you're good. As long as it's your only car. A second car counts against you. So, Sherry, after I turn 67, can I make as much as I want? This year, I can only make 24,300. I'm survivor benefits. Yeah, this year, 23,400. Yeah, once you hit 67, you can go back to making $1 billion a month, right? But Sherry, also, the year you turn your full retirement age. So let's say you turn your full retirement age next year in July. Okay, so starting next year July, you can make $1 billion a month. Social Security doesn't care. But the months before that, January, February, March, April, May, June, that 6 months before that, you can actually make about, this year it's $62,160. Next year, 63, 64, 65,000, whatever the number is going to be for next year. You can make 3 times the normal amount. And then if you go over the amount, they don't hold back $1 for every $2. They hold back $1 for every $3 you go over. So let's see here. Yeah, SSI has given me more than the $2,000 limit in back pay, but also telling me that over 2,000 kicks me off. I've been so stressed. Okay, yeah. So with SSI, it's kind of strange if you've been waiting on disability for a while and then all of a sudden they approve you, they don't release all of that money at once because, yeah, that would kick you off. But if you have a dire need, caveman, if you've been waiting for your disability to be approved and been waiting months and months and months, and you've been, borrowing money from people and all this kind of stuff, and you've, been walking or, and then they approve you and they said, okay, you got $6,000, but we can't release all of it to you because it is a welfare-based program, yada, yada, yada. So we'll release a little bit this month, a little bit next month, yada, yada. But if you have a dire need, if you say, hey, I need that entire $6,000. I got to pay back this guy, and I got to get my car fixed and stuff like that. You make the case, and they should release all of it to you. So it's called as long as it's a kind of an immediate spin down type situation, you just spend it because stuff you need. So. All right, let's see. Okay, I already got that one. SSDI has specific work quarters work paying into FICA. Yes. Social Security Disability Trust Fund is actually a different trust fund. So, and that's why you get 2 different numbers. And if you watch my video and say, what is it, Eddie? What is it? 2034 or 2035? That's going to go. The Social Security OASI, old age and survivor insurance, retirement type stuff. That one is the trust fund is going to run out in 2033. The Social Security Disability Insurance Trust Fund is good for a long, long time. So if we keep those separate, then 2033. But at that time, it's just an accounting thing. They'll put those together. So that's why I say, given it that year, it's a little bit different. It's just an accounting gimmick that they do. So. Let's see here. Let's find some other new people that I don't recognize. My husband passed away. I'm 68. Can I get his Social Security? Okay, sorry to hear that, Sonny. If it depends. It depends how old you are. To get survivor benefits, you have to be at least 60 years old, or 50 to 59 if you're disabled. So let's say you're at least 60 years old. If you're getting benefits on your record already and they're higher, then yeah, there's no use in getting survivor benefits if it's going to be less. You will get that embarrassingly low $255, that lump sum death benefit. So definitely file for that. So call up Social Security, file for the $255 death benefit, the lump sum death payment. You're entitled to it. So there's that. And at that time, ask them what the calculations are and say, or what your husband, how much are they receiving? If his benefit was more than yours, then you're probably, depending on your age, you're probably entitled to benefits on his record. So, Denise, I've been in poverty ever since I started drawing. They ripped me years ago. I don't think they gave me what I was supposed to get. So if you disagree with your calculation or the month you started or anything like that, appeal. You can do that right now if you want. It's an SSA 561. It's super easy to fill out. It's a form SSA 561 and called a request for reconsideration. And you say, I think you messed up on your calculations years ago. I want someone else to double check it. I think I should have got my benefits a year earlier than I did. I want someone to check it and confirm. And then someone will check it, confirm. It'll take forever because, there's nobody in the offices nowadays almost. So there's that. All right, let's see. Let me see what else we got here. Hey, Nelson, how we doing? Sherry, another question. I'm on survivor benefits. Can I switch over to my first husband's Social Security, not survivor benefits? He is alive, his Social Security. Yes, but probably no. Why is that? You can if it's a higher benefit amount, but it's probably not a higher benefit amount because on survivor benefits, you get up to 100% of your deceased spouse's benefit amount. If that person is still out there alive and kicking, you only get up to 50%. So I would, so there's, if your most recently deceased spouse didn't make that much and your first one did, then yeah, it might be higher on your first one. But if not, it's usually the case no. But call up and find out. However, here's another way a lot of people miss money is they do like you're doing, which is good, checking all your options, make sure you get everything you're eligible for. So you call up, let's say you call up now and say, hey, I want to go ahead and file for, benefits on my most recent ex-spouse. And they say, okay, here. But they also ask you about your, previous spouses. So if you were married to someone for 10 years or longer, or you were married to them when they passed and you were married for at least 9 months, they'll look at the numbers and they'll determine, okay? So let's say your second husband is receiving X amount, so that's a higher benefit amount versus your first at that time when you file. And then something happens to your first husband and he passes, you might be eligible for more. And here's what a lot of people, they say, well, I've already filed on my second, so I can't switch now and no, you can. You can. And there's some people out there that, well, I don't know where that person is. I've, lost touch with them, never, want to see him again, yada, yada, yada. But it might be more benefits. How do I check that? Call Social Security every year or so and say, hey, I called last year and, the benefit amount wasn't higher because it was just a regular living spouse thing, but has anything happened to that individual? And they'll say, oh yeah, I hate to inform you, there's more money there for you. A lot of people miss that. And so, yeah, they're told one time, they're told, yeah, you're not eligible for benefits. And they think that applies forever. And the only reason you weren't eligible for benefits at that time was because the calculations just didn't work. but those calculations change based on, someone earning more and making more and their benefits go up, or they pass away, or whatever the case may be. So there's so many people out there that are not receiving the benefits they need and earned and are entitled to. So please like, subscribe, share, all that kind of good stuff. So, Cheryl, my husband was denied Social Security disability due to his VA disability payments. Yeah, no such thing. They said it was double dipping. Nope. Now deceased 2012. Can I collect past benefits? Yeah, that's, there is no such thing like that the VA benefits offset Social Security disability. The only thing it does is if it's not disability, it's SSI, which is the welfare-based benefit. It is also based on disability or aged over 65. But if he filed for SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, and he was disabled, and yeah, they should have approved him. What you make from the VA has zero effect on Social Security. So yeah, that's in the computer system, that's not possible. Again, unless it was SSI and he filed for the welfare-based program. And then because of his VA, yes, because it's a welfare-based program, if you're receiving money from the VA, then you're not eligible for the welfare-based program. But the other regular program, yeah, that's impossible for VA benefits to affect that. So, Athena, I earned military status through the state of Washington. Do I qualify for any benefits through the VA? I got stronger laws passed in 2004, received commendation from the governor. Yeah, you'd have to reach out to the VA. I'm an old Marine Corps sergeant, but I've never worked for the VA. So, receiving disability, Social Security started at 38. Will the payment change at retirement age? No. Once you're, it changes every year based on the COLA. But no, once you're on disability, you pretty much stay on disability forever and until you hit your full retirement age. And then your disability benefits are just technically switched over regular retirement benefits. But your benefit amount stays the same. Your benefit will go up if you get the COLA, they decide to do a COLA. It'll go up if you work and pay into Social Security and it's one of your high 35 years. So that type of stuff. So, but yeah, once you're on disability, then your benefit amount is basically that benefit amount. Mama, I hope you all have a great evening and sleep well tonight. Yes, you're awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. 54 wife disabled. Can I get benefits from husband that is already retired? No, because in order to get spouse benefits from a husband, from a spouse, you have to be 62 years old. So as soon as you hit 62 years old, then you would be eligible for benefits on his record if the calculations, your benefit amount is less than half of his. I think there's a similar question here, Lizzie. I have been on SSD, Social Security Disability, for 21 years. Do I have to wait for my husband to retire to collect on his benefits? Yes. I understand that I would only take the higher amount of mine or his. No, you would. So you have to be 62 to collect spouse benefits. If he is receiving disability or, okay, you didn't say, well, okay. I'm checking to see if you said he's on disability too, but he has to file for benefits. So this is your current spouse. So he has to he has to start receiving benefits, retirement or disability benefits. And then once you're 62, then you can get benefits on his record. And what happens is you continue to get your disability benefits, but if those benefits are less than half of his, then you will get that difference. One offsets the other. So. All right, we are at an hour or almost out of time here. Let me get one more question and we'll call it a night. I currently took early Social Security. My full Social Security age is 67. Can I take Medicare at 67 or do I have to take it at 65 since 65 used to be the old full retirement age? Yeah, they didn't switch it. If I had my way, as soon as you started your Social Security benefits, your Medicare started automatically too. So if you start your Social Security at 62, I think you should start your Medicare at 62. If you get your disability at 45, rather than have to wait 2 years, I think you should get your Medicare immediately once you start disability. But anyway, that's just me. And that's just logical if you ask me. But anyway, no, the Medicare is still 65. But if you are approaching 65 and you hear that Medicare is mandatory, what it is, but there's exceptions. If you're approaching 65 and you have health insurance from work, yours current work, yours or your spouse's current work, and your employer has 20 or more employees, then you do not have to sign up for Medicare at that time. You can sign up for Part A. That's zero premium anyway, but you can delay the Part B, save yourself the $185. And then when you turn 67, 70, 77, 87, 97, and you stop working at that time, then you go ahead and sign up for Part B, and there's no late penalty at all because you had creditable coverage from current employment. And then on my website, it gives the forms that you have to fill at that time, and then call Chapter, and they can help you fill in all the blanks with a Medicare supplement or Medicare Advantage or Part D plan and all the rest of it. All right, that'll do it for today. You guys are awesome as always. Thank you very much. I'll be back again tomorrow. I think I'm gonna steal that person's. I thought of it a few days ago, but anyway, yeah, it's nice to see we're on the same page on the sanctuary farms. So I think I'll talk about that one tomorrow for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll get into Q&A for the rest of the time. Y'all have an awesome